for all the listeners, I know you know that there are different indigenous groups everywhere, right? I mean, we can talk about indigenous groups, different indigenous groups living in the States, different indigenous groups. So when we think about the Amazon, we need to think about many, many, many different indigenous groups that live in the Amazon region. And when we think also about the Amazon, we kind of like it's part of the conversation at the beginning of what does it mean to be from Latin America? What does it mean? What does the Amazon mean? Right? And when you think about the Amazon, to what extent that's very different to the view or the perspective that I have about the Amazon, because it's like a lot of people might not know a whole lot about Latin America, but they have heard about the Amazon and they have an idea in their minds about the Amazon and what the Amazon is, which is fascinating because across the world, I mean, I don't know, out of the 10 people that I would choose, probably all of them know about the Amazon, right? They have an idea about what the Amazon is, but we don't really, and we know about the ecological diversity, right? We know about how it may look like, right? If you think about the Amazon, you probably think about a forested area, right? Like a, like, I mean, that would be a first
Sure.
guess, right? But we don't really think about the many different indigenous groups that live there. We don't really think about how is that within the Amazon, within this huge territory that is considered the Amazon. We're thinking about different countries. It's not just Brazil. You have Colombia, you have Ecuador, you have Peru, you have Bolivia. They all share a part of this big, big territory. And because of that, the geography within the Amazon changes and varies. And because the geography, I mean, varies, I mean, it's only expected that the cultural diversity it's there as well, right? We're not just talking about birds and animals. We're also talking about groups of people who have made a living there for generations and generations, and they speak different languages. They just have different ways of facing life. So going back to my research is that I decided to look at a specific group in the northern part of the Amazon region that speak Quechua. And Quechua is an indigenous language that it was, I mean, it was the indigenous language that most of the people spoke in South America by the time that the Europeans showed up. And so, so this Quechua, it's a language that's still, I mean, many people from different parts of the Andean region. I mean, when we're talking about Ecuador, Peru, Bolivia, like all that, when you think about South America, you need to think the first thing that you need to think of is the Andean Mountains, right? Because that is kind of like the backbone of South America. So from there, when you think about the Andean Mountains, you think about the places that surround the Andean Mountains and the countries that have kind of like that are shaped by the Andean Mountains, and from that you have people who speak Quechua among other different indigenous language. But I mean, the population of people speaking Quechua, it's. I mean, there is a number of people that speak Quechua. I mean, percentage wise, I don't remember, but it's just a large number of people speaking this language. And then, so my research was I wanted to find out more about indigenous groups that are not necessarily located in this Andean region, but they are in the Amazonian region. And I wanted to know more about that. So that's how my research started. That's how I kind of like, I did field work there, ethnographic work, which is kind of like going and conducting interviews and just trying to get a sense of my idea was to see what were the main challenges that these indigenous organizations were facing in terms of their territorial rights. I mean, to what extent right now the territory, the place, right? I mean, in a very, very blatant way, to what extent the place where they live, it's a place that has been officially recognized to be theirs, right? And if not, what are the problems they are facing to get that recognition? So that